group after minority group. Conservatives have been getting rich and gaining power off of this, targeting immigrants, targeting LGBTQ people, women. It's been Somalis, Haitians. But the second that certain MAGA commentators are now the subject of this exact type of bigotry, they have a stunning amount of moral clarity about it. Vivek Ramaswamy only had moral clarity when anti-Indian American hatred was being spread. Republican Representative Randy Fine has a lot of moral clarity about bigotry when it's against him, but the way that he talks about Zohran Mamdani, the way that he talks about Ilhan Omar is incredibly contradictory. You can't just stop bigotry from entering your movement when it's hitting you. You have to stop it at the door. Do you know who Paul Ingrassia is?
Sure.
Do you know who Paul Ingrassia is?
Yeah, we've debated it.
Do you know what, okay, so do you know what Paul Ingrassia said?
Yeah, we've debated
that he has a Nazi streak. Oh, you've debated it, but has Trump fired him or is he still a part of the administration?
I don't know where he is right now.
He's a part of the administration, and you know that. You're lying right now. You know that he is a part of the administration. He is still there, and he said he, quote, has a Nazi streak. So you can sit there and play coy, but you are not having the clarity that you are talking about right now. Do you condemn Paul Ingrassia? Hey everybody, Adam Mockler here. I just got back from a very heated debate on CNN, and this might be the best one yet. You're going to want to watch this until the end, and if you want to help boost the message, make sure that you drop a like below, and make sure you're subscribed to the Adam Mockler feed. Thank you all. And check this out. The FBI back in July released this memo that I was reading where they made a few claims that were just blown out by the Trump administration. First of all, they said that, or blown out by the DOJ, they said that releasing any more files would require releasing child pornography. Then they said there was no evidence linking anyone else to the scheme other than Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. After Congress forced the release of tens of thousands of files, we now know the FBI was lying. Pam Bondi also lied on Fox News. She said she had the files on her desk. She was going to release them. So the entire priority of this administration has been off. The DOJ had a few goals. They said they have to release all of the files with reasonable redactions. They did neither of those things. They didn't release all of the files. They're drip feeding them. And the redactions weren't reasonable. It was over-redacted in some parts, and as we just saw, under-redacted in other parts, and victims were exposed.
And they had plenty of time to do this right.
Yeah.
And I think that's been one of the concerns and the complaints of the victims is that they never heard from DOJ about how to do this in a way that centered their needs for justice in all of this, which is purportedly what DOJ says that they were trying to protect. But it seems like Trump is also concerned about protecting, I don't know, other people who were palling around with Jeffrey Epstein.
I don't like the pictures of Bill Clinton being shown. I don't like the pictures of other people being shown. I think it's a terrible thing. I think Bill Clinton's a big boy. He can handle it. But you probably have pictures being exposed of other people that innocently met Jeffrey Epstein years ago, many years ago.
And so, to Nina's point, he's not wrong that there are some people who are photographed there. Maybe they went to a concert, an event, weren't involved in the larger scheme. But Bill Clinton has been targeted by Trump officials in the last few days, and his spokesperson said, we're not afraid of this being released. Please release it all. It seems that the only person who really doesn't want more released is President Trump.
Well, President Trump came out a few weeks back and was actually in support of releasing the files and having everything be out there. I think that what the president's point here is a presumption of innocence until guilt, right? To not jump to any conclusions. But I would say we got to extract the politics out of this whole thing, and as everyone at the table agrees on, the main point of this is getting justice for the victims and ensuring that we do it correctly. And Abby, I agree with your point. I agree with your point that we've got to protect the victims, keep their names redacted, and even if that does mean over-redacting until we are sure, you know, what we have and what we're releasing is there. But I'm not going to go down the road of injecting politics into something that shouldn't be political at all. It's about getting justice and closure for these victims, but also doing so out of respect for the courts, like you said earlier, and having that, operating with that presumption of innocence until we have some evidence that someone is guilty through the process of the courts.
It's uniquely important to Donald Trump now that there's a presumption of innocence, but he's willing to proactively say that people like Schiff, people like Letitia James are guilty. Now it's very, very important that we're super careful about what photos we're releasing. I just find it really convenient that Donald Trump is now so worried about this.
But I go back to the point I made earlier, is that you just tried to re-inject politics in this. You have to separate these two things. There are peoples whose lives
I'll do
are
it when Trump
impacted
does.
here.
I'll start
and
to separate it when
well,
Trump
be the
separates
leader
it.
and show him the way.
I'm a 23-year-old. He's the president.
This is the.
You're telling Adam
That's
to
Adam's
do that.
go-to.
Wait,
Okay.
wait.
I don't
You guys just go to
make it
point
different.
of view more than Adam.
You make it
I believe
different.
But
Adam-
listen,
Opinion leader.
he's not wrong. I mean, one of these two is the president,
The
and it's
president
not
of the
Adam.
United States.
Maybe Adam will be a future
It's not
president.
Adam.
Who knows?
At
But the
least
fact
not
of the
yet.
matter is that this is not about politics.
No, it's all
Extract the
about
politics out of it, and you have to do whatever it takes to get
Yeah.
justice for these
I
victims
get
while
that,
also protecting.
but I also think that there are people are, I think, rightfully concerned that DOJ is trying to protect one man.
Oh, no,
and
they-
that is
they
Donald Trump.
absolutely
And
are.
that concern was
They have
heightened when
flatly denied it.
when there were photos that were
course they gonna
that were
deny
put
it.
out and then they were removed from the website and then
Yes.
put back out
Right.
once there was some outcry about it. So people, that suspicion is there because not just because of the words that Trump said under duress, but because of the actions of the president and his administration when it came to this issue. Should there be boundaries? Should someone be able to go up on that stage and say, if you believe these things, you are not part of our movement?
Well, look, my personal view is that this was an event. It's the first big rally since Charlie got murdered. And specifically what Candace has been doing, terrorizing a grieving widow for the last several months with conspiracy theories, some of them wrapped up in this whole Israel nonsense, is nothing short of despicable. And I think Ben was right to call that out. I didn't hear Ben calling for the excommunication or the deplatforming of anyone, but I do think it's more than reasonable to say, what kind of a movement allows someone in whose job is to monetize the grief of a widow after she had to witness her husband and the leader of this organization get murdered? I think that's more than in bounds for him to talk about. Look, we're a political party and a political movement. We're not a sponge. You don't have to absorb everything that oozes in under the door. I think that was Ben's point. And look, everybody's going to have a right to say whatever they want. It's not about free speech. It's about what sort of speech you want to be identified with. I, for one, don't really want to be identified with someone who is terrorizing a grieving widow.
Yeah, and we'll get to how Vance plays into this because you mentioned it. But the New York Times wrote this in the depths of these Republican divisions has been obscured by two things: shared affection for Trump and a shared revulsion at the left. But Trump is no longer on the ballot, and there's increased alarm over the new right. These two factors are working together to shrink the Republican tent.
Yeah, you said J.D. Vance, his opinion is important. He has had no moral clarity about any of this division whatsoever. He refused to condemn the Young Republican group chat when it came out a few months ago. They were talking about gas chambers. He's refused to condemn Paul Ingrassia. He's refused to directly combat the Groyper movement growing. I just think it's like my entire life, Republicans have been targeting minority group after minority group. Conservatives have been getting rich and gaining power off of this, targeting immigrants, targeting LGBTQ people, women, it's been Somalis, Haitians, but the second that certain MAGA commentators are now the subject of this exact type of bigotry, they have a stunning amount of moral clarity about it. Vivek Ramaswamy only had moral clarity when anti-Indian American hatred was being spread. Republican Representative Randy Fine has a lot of moral clarity about bigotry when it's against him, but the way that he talks about Zohran Mamdani, the way he talks about Ilhan Omar is incredibly contradictory. You can't just stop bigotry from entering your movement when it's hitting you. You have to stop it at the door. This is not courageous for people to speak out. It is self-preservation at this point.
You brought up Mamdani. Do you believe that Mamdani has shown any moral clarity when it comes to Israel and the attacks
The
on
day
Jews?
after he was elected, there was a swastika. Let me finish. There was a swastika drawn on a window, and he immediately tweeted out and condemned it. There is no equivocation between the way. There is no equivalent between the way Zohran and J.D. Vance have conducted themselves.
So
Do you think J.D. Vance should condemn Nick Fuentes? Should J.D. Vance condemn the Groypers?
He has. He told him he could eat SHIT. That's
Not on
number one.
stage. He didn't do it on
Number
stage
two-
in front of the
number two,
Groypers.
Today, Mamdani got asked, there are people on your transition team who have said it's okay to kill Jews after October the 7th, and he said, we have a diversity of political opinion. I think to throw Mamdani in with J.D. Vance is a huge reach. Mamdani has been the opposite of morally clear on
Are you
issues.
joking, J.D.
Let me
Vance?
ask
Yes,
you this because
very,
I think
very-
this is
I'm very
actually
much not joking.
this is actually to Adam's point. If you are willing to condemn, if you're willing to condemn Mamdani for what you just described, again, why would you not condemn conservatives for doing effectively the same thing when you have people like Nick Fuentes who
Are you
out
questioning
there?
me about what I've had to say about
I'm questioning
anti-Semitism?
you.
And
No.
who should be...
You need clarity about people like
I'm
Paul
questioning
Ingrassia.
you about whether you're willing to apply the same principle to Mamdani that you would apply to people in your own party. Are you willing to do that?
I have repeatedly on this show said anti-Semitism has no place in
So
our
for the-
political
so for the
discourse,
people-
and we don't
so-
need to be
so for the
associated
people-
with it.
So for the people
Are you just
like
now
J.D.
remembering this?
Vance who say, oh, well, you know, we have a lot of different viewpoints in the Republican tent, and who am I to say who is in and who is not? He just mentioned the Republican group chat, and that was effectively J.D. Vance's point, which is that these are just boys. Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
They're just young men. We're not going to denounce them. We're not going to denounce them over little mistakes. Are you okay with that?
J.D. Vance is going to have ample opportunity to lead this
No, but
coalition.
I'm asking
I-
about
but I-
you.
but I will
Wait, do you
tell
think
you-
J.D. Vance
but I
should
will-
condemn
I'm
it?
asking about you. Are you okay with that?
Everybody-
Just in the same
well,
way that
continue
you
the
are
meetings
not
and then I'll
okay
answer.
with Mamdani. That's what I'm at. I get that J.D. Vance is J.D. Vance, but I'm wondering about you. What's the principle that you apply to J.D. Vance, and is
My-
it the same as what you're applying to Mamdani?
Well, I don't put them anywhere